Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'm truly thrilled to have Ben Chan here with us. Ben is someone we're very lucky to be working with on Chainlink, and he's going to be joining as our VP of Engineering, who is going to be helping us grow and properly build into production a lot of the things that we're coming up with on the research team and together with Steve, our CTO, and kind of to productize and generate a lot of the production outputs. He was previously the CTO at BitGo, where he did some amazing work in security and building the leading custody platform. But I'll let him describe his background, and then we'll jump into discussion about what we're working on and how Chainlink will evolve with his help.
Hey, thanks, Sergey. Really excited to be here. My name is Ben Chan. I was previously the CTO at BitGo. That's where we built a scalable and secure multi-signature wallet platform that powers more than 15% of global Bitcoin transactions today and has billions of dollars in custody. So building infrastructure for crypto is what I really enjoy doing and what I'm hoping I can do at Chainlink. So I think Chainlink is going through an amazing phase now. It's seeing huge growth, providing reference data infrastructure for DeFi. And what I think is even better is that there's even more potential across other verticals and smart contract use cases.
Yeah, that's the same thing I'm seeing, and I think we're very lucky to have somebody of your caliber and your experience of building secure systems working with us on this. So thank you for working on this with us, Ben. I think it'd be interesting for people to hear maybe how you got into DeFi and how you chose to start working on smart contracts and oracles. How did you kind of decide to go towards that part of the blockchain world?
Yeah, well, I mean, since I got to understand or got to know about crypto and Bitcoin, as the CTO of BitGo as well, I've always believed in crypto as a very, very important innovation in one's ability to hold digital assets as property. And I think that the extension of that is that once you have digital assets that you can hold, then you also want a decentralized way to make use of them. And that's where DeFi comes in. You want to be able to trade and obtain yield of your assets on your assets trustlessly. And so actually one of the things I'm really proud of that BitGo had the opportunity to do was to be able to support and be the custodian for wrapped Bitcoin, WBTC, which is the most adopted and liquid Bitcoin ERC20 token today, with about, I think, $1 billion in custody in total.
Yeah, that's very impressive. I think the reasoning that you have for this is very sound. I think the fact that the next frontier for our space is in fact not only tokenization, which a lot of people have successfully done and been able to polish good things around, but it's actually generating a useful place and way to store the value of these tokens and do things with them, right? And WBTC for me is a really impressive example where you've been able to take an asset from one environment in the form of Bitcoin, which creates a lot of proof, and to take that asset and put it into this other environment where DeFi is kind of flourishing in the form of Ethereum. And you've been able to do that now to a tune of $1 billion successfully through the work at BitGo and the role they have to play in WBTC as kind of the custody solution there, and in addition to that huge amount of other value they secure. So I think that's really a step forward. I think one of the fascinating things that we've been able to work on already and put out into the public has been our work together on combining the use of Chainlink oracles with improving and kind of bolstering the security of WBTC. And I'm sure that people would be interested to hear how that looks from your point of view and how that'll likely evolve.
Well, I think BitGo, is crypto's first full financial services stack. So we've not just built, a very secure and reliable wallet platform. We've also built a regulated and compliant custodian, liquidity platform, and lending infrastructure. And in addition to that, as one of the longest standing crypto companies, we had, just the amount of passion to be able to also support and be the custodian for wrapped Bitcoin, WBTC, which is currently the most adopted and liquid Bitcoin ERC20 token today. And it's got about more than $1 billion, in Bitcoin as we speak right now. And I think this is what I'm proudest of, building infrastructure, and especially building infrastructure for DeFi.
Right. I think it's quite impressive that the amount of value that BitGo secures for exchanges and various other institutions. And I've seen it as kind of almost the pinnacle of security conscious infrastructure in the Bitcoin and then in the Ethereum ecosystem. I think that its use in WBTC is part of the reason why there's so much value locked into it. As you said, over $1 billion, which is also quite an achievement in a relatively short span of time. I know we now have the pleasure of working with BitGo as well and helping improve and assure the security of WBTC through proof of reserve. And you had a certain hand in that and ensuring that works properly. I think it might be useful for people to know, what is proof of reserve and how is it useful, and how does that kind of all interact in a useful way?
Yeah, for sure. Both Chainlink and BitGo, work together on-chain proof of reserves. As you know, one thing that's super important to me, being someone that's really passionate about crypto, is that it's very important to make wrapped Bitcoin very transparent. People need to be able to check that every WBTC token is fully backed one-to-one with Bitcoin, and that there is no fractional reserve going on over that. So Chainlink created an automated bridge to have distributed Oracle networks power this on-chain proof of reserve on Ethereum, so that smart contracts on Ethereum can get the assurance that for the total amount of token supply on the WBTC USD20 contract, there is that same amount, or at least that same amount, that has also been locked up on the Bitcoin chain. And so I think this is novel in that it's, for the first time ever, there's an off-chain asset, which is Bitcoin, and you can prove it in a distributed manner that it is fully backed and tokenized securely. And I think the magic of that is that after this, once you have this reliable and trusted infrastructure at the lower layer, then the composability of DeFi can come into play and really leverage Bitcoin and take it to all these other interesting use cases.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think the more you can prove the reliability of a collateral and the more you can assure DeFi applications that collateral is something they can give their users and kind of rely on as a source of value, the more it'll get used. And I think what you're seeing is actually an acceleration in the amount of WBTC that's being generated, because there's a huge amount of Bitcoin that I think could make its way into DeFi, and I'm thrilled that we've found a good way to pretty efficiently utilize an Oracle network like Chainlink to generate a proof of reserve in this unique way. And I think it's going to make WBTC more attractive, and I think that's an exciting initial kind of direction for proof of reserve, which will then see proof of reserve evolving into even a certain standard for collateral that gets used within DeFi eventually, I think.
Yeah, I think it's a really good, first use case for decentralized oracles to help increase the amount of trust in assets. But there will be many more to come. I mean, Sergey, what do you think sets Chainlink apart from some of the other oracles out there?
Yeah, I think some of the main things that people need to fully understand about what we're doing is the value we place on security, decentralization, and flexibility, right? And that flexibility also extends to us being able to have a scalable system. So I think that the first paramount thing that we kind of focused on together with Ari and Steve and me when we started out at the start with the white paper is just making an extremely secure system, because the values that trigger these DeFi contracts need to have a level of guarantees around them that's akin or close or almost the same as a blockchain, right? And as a smart contract. And so that's really the primary goal, because when you secure the billions of dollars, the 3-4 billion and soon much more that Chainlink is going to secure, you need to focus on the tamper proofness and the reliability of those inputs. Mm-hmm. What we also saw is that while you do want to make a secure system to make certain categories of inputs, you also want a system that's flexible. So you want a system that can successfully allow different models for inputting that data. You want people to be able to run their own Chainlink node as a data provider. That's something more and more data providers are doing. You want to be able to include data providers that can't provide their data through a node that they run. you want them to be able to just plug it into a collection of nodes so you can quickly sell their data and everybody can kind of benefit from it, including the data provider. You also see a need sometimes to do aggregation on chain because that's where you get the greatest security guarantees. And so that was a kind of starting point. Now what I think we see is the security we've been able to generate getting applied in different verticals, such as price data for DeFi, weather data for insurance, randomness for gaming, now proof of reserve for collateral, and soon, also many other verticals. And I think in addition to that flexibility, you're going to see a certain scaling of Chainlink and a certain additional scalability to it that we've already started to implement in a new release now. And that is going to be even more improved in further versions of Chainlink that I know that you're going to be working on. Oh
yeah, for sure. I mean, I feel like scalability is one of the most exciting things to be working on right now at Chainlink. And I did want to add on. I think based on what I've seen thus far, I feel like Chainlink is by far the most reliable Oracle out there today. It is, as a result of it having been around and used by the number of DeFi applications that it has this certain amount of battle testedness and scale that has come to it over time.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think we've kind of seen a lot of different Oracle issues with other systems. We've seen a number of ways that Oracles need to work properly, and we've baked all of that into Chainlink, much in the way that Bitcoin has baked in a lot of security. Ethereum has baked in a lot of security over time and over various use cases and scenarios. And now I think we're at a stage where we're going to be scaling up that security to both many different use cases and to scalable data delivery for specific use cases. So Ben, within the realm of all of these improvements that we're making to Chainlink, what are kind of the things that you and the engineering team are going to be working on in the near term to make all of these improvements?
Well, I think first, I always have seen Oracles as infrastructure, and with infrastructure, the common challenges that I think need to be addressed are reliability, scalability, security, and decentralization. With which comes crypto economic guarantees like staking and so on. And so one of the most exciting things that I think we are working on right now, though, is a scalability solution that will improve network fees like gas fees by an order of magnitude. So what we're implementing is what we call Offchain Navigation. And this works by sending a single aggregate response into the chain for every Oracle update. So this feature requires a few moving parts to get right. First, you need to have a peer-to-peer networking layer. You need to have an off-chain lightweight consensus model to help Oracle networks come to an aggregate response in a distributed and trust minimalized manner. And then you need a reliable protocol using which different nodes can take turns to post final transactions onto the multiple chains that we support. So this goal is actually really, really important because it's going to allow us to scale up the number of oracles per feed with almost no extra cost. And it's going to provide huge operational savings per feed at a time when we don't know how high certain fees in networks like Ethereum could spike. Using these savings, we could definitely increase the accuracy and frequency of updates per feed. We could set up even more additional data feeds. And I think that I like to build with a practical objective in mind. And right now that is to serve the DeFi demand that we're seeing today.
Yeah, that's very exciting. I mean, I know we've been doing some work on threshold signatures since last year, and I'm thrilled to see portions of that coming to fruition and getting worked on into production code. I think what I'm really seeing is that we have kind of verticals where we're starting to do very well, such as DeFi and price data. And now we've reached the point where the demand for data is just growing at such a rapid pace that we know that scaling to meet that demand, both on Ethereum and various other chains, is going to be very important. And so I'm thrilled that we're in the process of kind of making the next version of Chainlink that's going to not only have the security and reliability that has already been baked into Chainlink, but maintaining that security and reliability into a very, very scalable system that can launch thousands of Oracle networks and service multiple chains very efficiently, right? But I think the important nuance is that You start out at a secure system that you then make more flexible. And once the flexibility you have allows you to define a winning category of activity for it, you're then able to make it scalable in the way that serves that category of activity. And I think that's kind of the place that we've gotten to is we're clearly very widely used and relied on in DeFi because of the security we've generated, which other folks haven't been able to generate at this point. We flexibly allow that to be extended into other verticals, but we do have a specific vertical use case in the form of DeFi that does kind of need this scalability to continually scale, launch more markets, provide more data for DeFi applications to get built. And so that I think is a very worthwhile and important body of work. Importantly, once again, maintaining the security that you've already attained in the early stages of building a system like this.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Security first, reliability, and then scalability. But I think there's a lot to be seen in the future. What are some of these, other great features do you think we will be seeing in the future of Oracle's and Chainlink in particular?
I mean, I think what we'll continue to see is that Chainlink is able to flexibly adapt to provide inputs and generate outputs for many different use cases, right? Right now, we successfully provide price data for billions of dollars in DeFi, surpassing 4 billion and then going on to surpass more beyond that, right? We have insurance companies on production using us for weather data live to make crop insurance. We have a random number generation solution that's being adopted by multiple blockchain gaming companies. Now we have proof of reserves that's generating a lot of proof around the collateral in a DeFi protocol using an Oracle network. And so what you're seeing is the consistent repurposing of Oracle networks to solve specific use cases. But really what's happening alongside all of that is you're polishing a protocol and a system that can get composed for many various use cases in this form of decentralized computation, this new form of decentralized computation that's called an Oracle network, right? And so now we've actually reached a place where that flexibility has allowed us to go into different verticals, and it's allowed us to start definitively winning in some of them. And now we've reached a need for scalability. And so we're solving that need. Beyond that, I think we're always going to continue to input various other security guarantees, things like zero knowledge proofs through DECO, various crypto economic security guarantees like staking, various other guarantees like circuit breakers, and all kinds of guarantees that will make sure that the Oracle system that people rely on is the most secure and reliable one for them. But I think the important thing that we're going to see is that there's going to be more different verticals that need different inputs. And every vertical use case where we put new and additional data, you will see it bloom into a place where smart contracts suddenly start doing something very valuable and useful, right? And I think that's kind of the most exciting thing to me. And then if we can then win in each of those vertical use cases and apply greater and greater degrees of scalability to it, then we can kind of scale up those verticals by providing more and more data to them.
Yeah, I'm really excited to work with Steve, our CTO, and Ari, our chief scientist. I think we actually have a team that's really talented at coming up with these novel ideas to actually push services that don't really always fit on layer one, things like randomness, ordering, confidentiality, trust minimalization, and so on. And what I'm seeing here is that we have a lot to grow. And my job at Chainlink is going to be to make sure that we can build a strong engineering and product team. And this way, the research team can provide the ideas and prototypes, and together engineering can productize the solutions and build infrastructure that can power our vision of universally connected smart contracts.
Yeah, it's very exciting, and I'm absolutely thrilled that we're all working on it together. I think building the next generation of Chainlink in a secure and scalable way is something that's going to require a large and growing engineering team. And I think anybody who's thinking of joining Chainlink and working with us should really take a look at the people they'd be working with, right? And I'm personally really grateful to be working with Steve, our CTO, you as our VP of engineering, Ari as our chief scientist, and really I'm hard pressed to find other teams that can achieve the types of things I've already seen, you folks come up with together and build. And so I'm really excited about the future and really interested to see all the new kind of things that both get developed from the research team and that get productized through the engineering team and put out into the larger blockchain and DeFi ecosystem. I think it's a very good model, and it allows us to output a lot of very valuable uses for Oracle networks that in a prioritized way create more and more value for the blockchain ecosystem, more and more value in accelerating DeFi, decentralized insurance, blockchain gaming, and various other use cases for smart contracts that I think we've all been very excitedly waiting for.
Yeah, I think that's super exciting. I mean, there's really no better time than today to be working on this. Thanks a lot.
I think so. Great chatting with you, Ben. Thank you very much.
Cool.
Thank you.